welcome to this little video, my chess friends. And first of all, I'd just like to say thank you very much for the very kind words of encouragement that I received after you have viewed some of these videos that we have posted. It is really heartwarming to think that some of the knowledge that we have imparted, you have applied in your own games of chess in a practical sense, so that you can really understand the moves that you are making. And of course, this is essentially the purpose of this chess channel, to provide instruction so that we can understand, because we know that understanding is the prime thing to be aimed for. Now, I had a very nice comment from someone from Eastern Europe with the very interesting name of "My name is too sexy to know." Well, my name is too sexy to know. This little video on the Colle is for you, and I thank you so much for your kind words of commendation and encouragement with regard to the two other Colle videos that I posted. Colle is of course a queen pawn opening, and we make d4. First World Correspondence chess champion Cecil Purdy said, "We don't recommend it as the best opening for white, but it is certainly the easiest good opening to learn." And world champion, another world champion, Alexander Alyekin, said of the Colle, "It is not without venom." And he spent a considerable time trying to find plans against it. So we play d4, and probably the most flexible choice for black is knight to f6. You can of course play d5 or any other move, but for the sake of brevity we'll say that he plays knight to f6. Now the normal move that masters play is c4, going into some type of Queen's Gambit type of formation. But if you're going to play c4, you need to know so much theory. You need to know Nimzo Indian, King's Indian, Queen's Indian, not to mention all types of tricky gambits, the Alban counter gambit or the Budapest gambit. So for this reason I don't play c4. People are too well prepared for it. And I like the very flexible knight to f3. Black can no longer play the Budapest gambit or the Alban counter gambit. He must play chess. Probably the most flexible choice for black is to play e6. He's still unsure what we are going to do with our c4 pawn, and this is just a flexible choice. And here we play the move e3. Of course we block the c1 bishop in, but we'll later move this pawn to e4 after we prepare the move, and this bishop will become free. Black, for the sake of this video, plays d5. We play our bishop to probably its most active post, where it radiates power throughout the chessboard. Black can play c5, can play c3, knight to c6, knight b to d2. Here this bishop can either go to e7, or probably the most active is d6, castle, and black castles. And here we have reached the Colle mainline position. We can see that we have this interesting triangle here of pawns defending our position, and black has a type of Queen's Gambit with reverse colours type of formation. Now we've already said that the goal is to prepare the move e4, and indeed we can play the move e4 here, but we run into this variation. C takes d, c takes d, d takes e, and we are left with an isolated queen pawn. I'm not saying it's a strength or a weakness, but we'd rather not have an isolated queen pawn. And therefore, the way we deal with this is simply to play d takes c first. After bishop takes c5, then we play the move e4. And it's important to get the timing of this correct. And you can see that we have achieved our goal of freeing our bishop on c1. It now has this diagonal to operate along here. Now with this move we are in fact trying to entice black into playing an ending, because after a series of exchanges the ending will be very, very favourable for white. Just let me show you what I mean. After d takes e, knight takes, bishop takes, e4, queen takes d1, rook to d1. This is the Colle ending, and it's absolutely brilliant for white. We have a queenside pawn majority, which we can use to create a passed pawn on the queen side. We can gain tempi on this bishop. This bishop here exerts pressure against this diagonal here. And we have control of the only open file as well, which makes it somewhat difficult for this bishop here to develop itself. Now of course black can avoid this, but I'll cover that in another video. Let us just for the sake of this little video cover what happens if black allows us to enter into a Colle endgame like this. And I have a game from Germany which illustrates the concepts beautifully. And it's played by two masters, two rather, if there's such a thing, lowly rated masters, but over 2000 anyhow. Michael Brockman and Jürgen Reichert. And it's played in Germany in 1996. Okay, in this position black played bishop to e8. Michael Brockman played bishop to f4. f6 was tried. b4 gaining tempi on the bishop there on c5. Bishop went to b6. And bishop to d6. The bishop takes this beautiful square on d6. e5 was tried. c4. e6. c5. Another tempi on this bishop that was on c5. Bishop went to d8. Rook came to b1. And here black tries his own kingside counterplay with the move g5. e4, beginning or continuing the pawn storm, trying to create a passed pawn. g4 and b5. e takes b5, e takes b5 was played, and the knight went to a5. This knight went to h4, getting out of the way of the aggression of the g-pawn. The bishop came to e6. Rook a1 was played, and rook to c8. g3, anchoring this knight. b6 was tried. And here white played a beautiful positional sacrifice. We've already seen things like this on our pawn structure video series. We have two beautiful pawns on the queen side, and one of the ways that we can help them advance is by making some sacrificial exchange. And here white plays the beautiful rook takes a5 exchange sacrifice. Black must accept, and you can see white now has two beautiful passed pawns on the queen side. Bishop went to b7, hassling this rook here, and it must give itself up with rook to c7. Bishop takes, and you guessed it, b6, hitting this bishop here. Well, rather than succumb to these two pawns, the bishop decided to give itself up with bishop takes b6. C takes b6 and rook to b8. Bishop came to d5. This pawn was taken. This was taken with check. Rook took. The knight came to f5, and although black has an outside passed pawn, I don't think it will be enough for any serious challenge to the domination of rook and bishop in this endgame. Just to illustrate it, with a4 was played, rook came to a1, rook to a6, rook to a3 blockading the pawn, king to f7 was tried, knight came to e3, king e6, c4 for the knight, king came to d5, pawn takes, rook takes, and of course there's the fork here, on b6, king came to d4, and the rook was taken. And with his extra piece, white was able to convert this into a very convincing win. So this game, it really illustrates what the Colle is all about. The Colle main line, that is. From this position here, and what white is trying to do. First goal is to free our bishop, and in order for us to do that we must play the move e4, but we must time it correctly. We therefore play d takes e first and then e4, and we try and entice black into an endgame. And after this position here, we have absolutely excellent prospects with our queenside pawn majority. Tempi we can get against his bishop here, pressure along this diagonal, and of course control of the only open file, making it difficult for this bishop to develop. So hopefully you learned something about the Colle opening from this little chess video. In the next video I'll cover, we'll look at what happens when black tries to avoid getting into this end game scenario by protecting his queen or protecting his knight on f6. So thank you very much for your time, and I do wish you well with your own chess.